Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome to the District 75 training session. What it takes to win. Table speech contest with DTM Elisa Tay. Last June 28, 2020, Elisa clinched the first place in table topic speech contest in District 75. Fellow Toastmasters, let us give a warm round of applause to our speaker this afternoon, distinguished Toastmaster Elisa Tay.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are here this afternoon to do something that we love. Usually, when we talk about something we love, it's about learning something new, expanding our knowledge, and simply just getting a leg up in whatever activity we would like to do. And specifically this afternoon, it's table topics. Now, what are we going to do this afternoon? What are we looking forward to this afternoon? We are looking at 2020 is gone. It's nada. So we're looking forward to 2021. And if we want something, we work for it. If we want to join table topics, if we just want to be a better reactor in club meetings in table topics, then we work for it. We make sure that we are not caught flat-footed. So what do we do? First, we are not here to learn how to do table topics. I'm not going to discuss about RM or prep or story message game because these are things that we learn club. This afternoon, we're trying to tighten the screw, as they say, to responding to table topics and hopefully winning in the table topics contest. I joined the table topics contest this year because it was a sore thumb. It was a frustration on my part because I competed so many years ago and I came in first runner-up. So it was a trophy that got away from me and I went for it again. So this creates an extra tension, an extra pressure on my part of how I could make do and how I could overcome my frustration and finally achieve that long lost trophy as table topics champion. Don't worry, I'm not going for the international speech contest. I might go after the humorous speech contest, but that's as far as I am going. Okay. So before we start looking and focusing on how we could react in table topics, let us find out first how you will be judged during a table topics contest. So if we look at this, speech development is 30%. Effectiveness, meaning whether it's logical, whether we hit it on the nail, whether we exhibit great enthusiasm, that's 25%. And then physical, voice, language, this is 45%. Some would say maybe if I hit it right with the 30 and the 25, I'm going to win it. But what if all of you are on equal plane with the 30 and 25? The physical, the voice, the language will now matter. Because we now get, the judges will now get into the nitty-gritty of things. Okay? So find out how you will be judged. Read the rule book. You might volunteer as a judge in another area and find out that you will no longer be allowed to compete because you were a judge in table topics. So know the rules. Know the rules. You will not be warned. You will not be reminded by the contest chair. You have to look out for yourself. Make sure that you know the rules. Okay? Now let us start. Leave your mind blank. This was the first advice given to me years ago when I first competed in table topics. This was given to me by Rene Lizada, and he told me, Elisa, leave your mind blank. And I was wondering what he meant by that, leave your mind blank. Let us not think of so many things. Let us not be reacting to quotations while we are waiting for our turn. Maybe if we are in the waiting room, we start thinking about how I would react to this if this was the quotation. This is the way I will act if this is the quotation. So leave our minds blank. What do we do? How do we do? How do we spend our time? Past District Governor Diling usually sings the Our Father. There are some who dance the ballet. Whether they are in rhythm or not, they will dance. Me, I usually love doing this. Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled pepper. A peck of pickled pepper, Peter Piper pick. If Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled pepper, where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper pick? And then I have so many variations of that, like she sells seashells on the seashore. And it keeps my mind off the contest. It keeps my mind off discussing and projecting what might be the question that would be asked. Second, be 100% present. When you're there on stage, be there, 100% present. Don't be, you do your prayers while you're waiting. But when you're on stage, don't start praying on stage because you might not listen and you will not be able to get the question. When they repeat the question for the second time, you are now in a panic and you are now scrambling to listen. So be present 100%. You can practice this in your club meetings. How many of you have experienced this? Let's say the first reactor was called and the question was, the quotation goes like this. Be part of the solution and not be part of the problem. And then somebody else was called, reacting there in front, and you, seated, will start reacting also to the quotation. And even if that person has ended his turn, you are still reacting to the quotation and not listening to the next question or quotation. And by the time you are called, oftentimes our reaction will be, can you please repeat the question? So be there 100% present. Let us practice this even when we are in the club setting. Third item that I have listed here is fearless factor. Oftentimes, we introduce table topics as the most feared part of the meeting. Let us try to avoid that. So how do we conquer this fearless factor? According to Jacqueline Wales in her book, Fearless Factor, we have to take a deep breath and then let it all out before we rush into answering the question. Because if we take the deep breath and then start answering, it will be competing with our exhaling and our speaking. So take a deep breath, let it all out, then start. Because when you exhale, it gives you a moment to relax. And don't mind the nerves. The nerves are a good sign that you are present. If you are stone cold and you're not feeling anything, then there's a problem. Because the nerves are there. For me, if I feel nothing, I try to scare myself. I try to scare myself so that the adrenaline gets pumping and gives me that extra boost. So don't fear the nerves. Work with those nerves. Use it as an energy push. Use it as an adrenaline source. Because then it gives you that edge. Okay. My nephew joined the rookie speech contest for our division. And he came in third. When I met him last Sunday, he told me, you know, I forgot about the examples that I should be giving because there were so many things, there were so many examples that I could give, but I could not decide on which one to share. So the problem with table topics is not that we have nothing to say. The problem is we have so many things to say, and how do we narrow it down? I gave this example here. This is a photo of a buffet. Usually when I go into a buffet, it takes me a long time to start eating. Because there are so many things. I go around and round and round until something catches my eye. It's the same thing when we act to table topics. There are so many things that we can say. So we have to learn how to narrow things down. Now, how do we do that? First, follow your first instinct. Follow your gut feel. That's why I asked our facilitator to come up with that icebreaker wherein we had pictures and you would react to it. So you find out what is your gut feel. So if that is your first instinct, oftentimes you have something to say about that. Whether you hate it, you love it, you loathe it, you're passionate about it, you have something to say about it because it's the first thing that came into your mind. Like for example, if I show this picture, can you write on the chat what came into your mind? First thing. First thing that came into your mind. This one. Share your thoughts on the chat box. So let's see. Breaking the egg, fragile, life is colorful, it's not that hard, unfair, control, yummy, such a waste. Strike at the right moment. So these are things that comes into your mind. The first thing that comes into your mind, so many versions, and it would depend on our individual thoughts, what we are thinking at that moment. Charles, overuse of power. Imagine using a sledgehammer to open an egg. So that's going to be. So from there, you develop your reaction. You develop your reaction. You could talk about something so fragile as the egg. The shell is so fragile, but it's able to, but it's a perfect container for the egg white and the egg yolk. It could be overuse of power, maybe like government coming in too heavy on protesters, opening fire. So it could mean so many things. But what is the first thing that came into your mind? That is how you run with the topic. Let's do another one.
Sana mamaya na pala to, pero it's okay. Pwede bang painit mamaya?
Ako.
Okay.
Okay, another one. Do you know her? I think she's very familiar with all of us. So what is the first thing that comes in your mind when you see her photo? So write it down on the chat box. We are all born for a purpose. Greta, poor angry child, environment, advocacy, vision, strong eco-warrior, calculating, low carbon, change, wisdom doesn't come with age, the voice, climate for our next generation. So then you run with that. Like if you say angry child, why do you say that? So develop your reaction based on that. If you say age does not matter, then you develop your reaction based on that. Age does not matter. A young person is able to catch the attention of world leaders all over, then you run with that topic. Okay? So I'm not going back. We had follow first instinct, first gut reaction. Then another thing is associate. If you see Greta, you might not have anything to share, but you can see here maybe a little girl with an angry face, and then you can run with that. So you associate it with people that are angry. So if they're angry about something, they're passionate about something, so you make an association. Maybe there was one person who told me, you know, Elisa, you usually love to tell stories, but I'm so young, I don't have so much to tell. It doesn't matter. You associate it with a particular topic that would suit you. Don't try to put it on a parallel with somebody else. Use your own stories. Use things that you will associate with your life. Okay, then practice forming an opinion. Practice forming an opinion. This one, you can do this every day. It's not something that you do this. This is not something that you do during the contest. Because if you do this only during the contest, it's too late. So practice forming an opinion. Let's say you see a ad billboard of Coca-Cola. Coke adds life. Form an opinion. Say, no, I don't believe that. But I do believe that eating healthy adds life. So you start forming an opinion. Oftentimes we don't do that. We just say, anyway, whatever. What do you like to eat? Whatever. What would you like? What movie would you like to watch? Whatever. So start practicing forming an opinion, because then it will give us a practice on how to narrow down our choices and be very, very specific. Now, I have a list here. If you look at the cat, that's not Christine, okay? That's a cat. There are times we are stumped with a question. We're just like that cat. We're caught in the headlight and we do not know what to answer. So how do we go out of it? How do we get out of it and come up with a response? Okay, I have here, repeat the topic, use inflection points. Oftentimes, when the question is posted, try to say it in your mind. Try to say it to yourself, and then maybe use some inflections and own that quotation. Own that quotation. Like, for example, can't believe she stole the money. So if you have to repeat that and use inflection, you can say, I can't believe she stole the money. So your concern now is, you know that person. She's your friend. So you cannot believe that she stole the money. But if the inflection is, say, on the money, the stress is on the money, you say, I can't believe she stole the money. When in fact, there are jewelries are all around and all she got was $20 or 20 pesos or 100 pesos. So how come she just stole that? So from there, you can own the quotation and adjust it to how you feel about it. Foreign to familiar. To familiar, try to pull it down. Bring it down to earth. Maybe it's so head level that you wouldn't know how to react. So bring it down. Like if you're asked, the scientists split the atom. Now the atom is splitting us. By Kenton Reynolds. I wouldn't even know how to answer this. Scientists split the atom. Now the atom is splitting us. Maybe it's giving us a splitting headache. Or you try to narrow it down to a word or to a phrase that you're familiar with. So maybe split. the atom and go back and bring it maybe closer to home and say, when I was a child, my mom always had this knack of splitting the chicken for all of us. Chicken for all of us. Each one of us would get a choice part, and my mom usually gets the breast. It is only now that I found out that she loves the wings. But because she had to split one chicken for all of us, she had to settle for the breast. I know. So from you bring it down, you bring it, make it something familiar. And instead of talking about it in a scientific way, we are now making it more graphic using a story because now it becomes familiar to us. Okay, so making the foreign to familiar. Third, nature is your friend. Let's say if you really do not know how to react to that quotation, maybe you could say, I am now in the middle of a storm with all these ideas going around. So use nature. I feel that I'm in a form. Try to equate it with something. It's like during the district contest, my first thing that came into mind was my gulay. The nature part of it. From there, I tried to develop the speech and make it something more cohesive. So I started with that, using nature. Third is embody the topic. Maybe when we talk of embodying the topic, it means we put action into it. We put, let's say we're talking about anger, we could start by pulling our hair. Talking about shock, we could use action words and then use it to start the topic. We don't always have to start with words. Start with an action. Start with a slam. Start with a slap. Start with a bang on the table. So you call the attention of the audience. And from there, you work your topic. Another thing is try to bring it to the present. Maybe when I was practicing for the district contest, past district governor Chit told me, Liz, i-connect mo sa COVID, i-connect mo sa pandemic. So during the practice, everything that I came up with was about COVID, equating it to the pandemic, bringing it to the present. So what are the present situation that we have? Traffic, maybe economy, maybe boredom because we have been locked down for so long, maybe losing a friend because of pandemic, because of COVID. So we bring it to the present, associate it with something that's going on now, because then it makes it easier for us to work on the topic, to give in our ideas and develop the speech. Because then we bring it down, we bring it to the present. Then we have answer questions. Maybe who affected me? Who was my mentor? Or who caused this disdain or distaste for scuba diving? What caused it? How come I never went back to scuba diving? I started, but something happened and I was not able to go back because it has created a fear that I never overcame. So answer questions. Who? What? Where did it happen? When? And why do we Answer the question why. Answer the question how. You don't have to answer all these questions, but you can use these questions to start off your reaction. So these are some things that we use when we are stumped, when we're trying to grope for an answer, when we are faced with a quotation that is so difficult, sometimes we have no idea. We can sidetrack it. We can come up with something totally different and then just try to connect it with the topic. So repeat the topic, use inflection points, adjust. Sometimes when we repeat the quotation to our pace, an idea would click. If we bring that topic to something familiar, then we are at home court. We have so many things now to share. We can also use nature as a source of inspiration for our answer that question. We can also embody the topic using gestures, using actions. We bring it to the present, equate it with something that is happening now, equate it with something that is the hottest topic. Could be the election, could be the typhoon, could be COVID, could be the flood. So bring it to the present and then try to answer questions. Who, what, where, when, how. You can win if you want to. Not all of us will be able to get the trophy, but winning will not always mean getting a trophy. I know of a member who joined us, and the first assignment that she had was timekeeper's report. When she got up, she spent 2 minutes up front just laughing, nervous laughter. She was not able to say anything, just 2 minutes of laughing in front. Just imagine that. As she pursued and attended meetings and participated in table topics, soon she was able to respond to table topics. For her, that was a win. Able to stand up and share her idea was considered a win for her. We might not all belong to that 1% that could just answer something right away. We might all belong to that 99% that needs to work and practice on it. So winning in table topics does not happen overnight. It doesn't mean you just keep your mind blank, 100% focus, do association, and you will make it. It has to be something that grows on us, something that we practice every day. And more so, if we see something, we start reacting to it. If we come across a line, we form an opinion. If we see something, we start developing an answer. That is how we get to a point where we are effective in reacting to table topics. It doesn't matter how far we go. Doesn't matter how fast we react. It doesn't matter whether it's one long speech, but the point is we are able to come up with an idea that we can share with everybody else. So fellow Toastmasters, let us work on it. Let us put our minds and focus into it. We have to practice. Even in club meetings, we have to be 100% present. We have to focus. We have to keep on practicing, bringing ideas down to earth level. Because when we try to answer table topics at the head level, oftentimes we get lost and we lose the audience. We have to bring our heart into it. We have to bring our passion into it. And in the end, we are able to touch people because of the ideas that we share, because of the stories that we share with everybody else. So start leaving your minds blank, be 100% present, do the fearless factor, and appreciate the nerves. Don't make don't go into a catatonic stage because that's difficult. And then how do we zero in down? Follow our gut instinct, do association, and practice forming an opinion. Whether it's a right opinion, it's a wrong opinion, it's your opinion. Practice that. Practice every day on that. Now, we have gone through all these tips. You practice in your club, and then you join the speech contest. Sometimes we make it, sometimes we won't. Because as they say, the roll of the dice is also plays a major part. When I competed in the humorous speech contest so many years ago, I came in first runner-up. No, I came in second runner-up. And based on the feedback from the audience, they were telling me, you know, Elisa, with the three ladies, in whatever position you came in, the audience would have been satisfied. That meant the competition was so close. So there are times the roll of the dice will also play a big part. If it's your time, it's going to be your time. Good afternoon. I'm open now for questions.
So thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Elisa Tay, for providing us those tips and for the guidance in how we're going to be approaching table topic session in every Toastmasters meeting. And as you mentioned, we are now opening the floor to everyone who would want to ask a question to our guest speaker.
I see a question by Lolly. What is a better position to handle table topics, sitting down or standing up? That would depend on you. For a speech contest, I would prefer standing up because that means you have greater room for gestures. If you're sitting down, you're too close to the screen, it limits your space. Whereas if you're standing, you can move back, you can move closer, stretch your hands, and come up with room. Look at the world champion. He was able to use that space. He was able to maximize that space.
Okay, and we have another question from Toastmaster Joanne, and her question is: should you pander to the judges or to the audience?
In table topics, it would have to be everybody. The judges will be doing the scoring to make sure that you win. I think that would be in the evaluation wherein you have to focus on the judges and at the same time you have to focus on the speaker. But in table topics, you just have to react. You don't have to try to analyze whether this would be more effective for the judges or should I come up with something that would reach out to the audience, because the judges are part of the audience.
And we have another question from Charles. What is the best way to start, develop, and end a table topic speech?
I am partial to stories. So I go, that's my fallback, story. So find out something that you love to do. Maybe stories. Some can give us at the drop of a hat. I cannot. It takes me a long time to think of a quotation. That's why my fallback is a story. So I often start with my reaction to the quotation, whether I agree or not. And then from there, I develop my speech using the story as the body of my speech. And when I conclude, I use part of my story going back also to the introduction that I use to the client. Where we have a very short timetable for table topics, 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes. So we cannot expand so much. We cannot have a lengthy introduction because then it will eat into our time for the body wherein we develop our thoughts. And oftentimes we might miss out on a conclusion because we spent too much time at the introduction. So just snap, story, quotation, agree or disagree, then develop your points at the body. Maybe 2 points, then conclusion.
Thank you for that again, DTM Elisa. And we have a rather unique question from Toastmaster Gina Mapua, and she says, I once competed in a table topics, and the topic was so outrageously stupid that my first reaction was, who thought of this stupid idea? How would you handle a situation like this?
Use that as your first line, Gina. Who thought of this stupid question? And then from there, the body of your speech, you give your reasons why you think this is stupid.
I will next time.
And antagonize the judges.
That's right, because the judge contributed the topic.
Anyway, it was not the judges who thought of the quotation.
Okay, next one is from Master Lolly.
We'll never know.
Do it with a smile, Gina. Do it with a smile.
She can get away with it.
Okay, the next question from Toastmaster Lolly.
I would like to share a story before we go to the next quotation about leaving your mind blank. This happened to me, and it also happened to one of our other contestants, Elaine, wherein she kept on practicing using one quotation. Even when she was testing the microphone, she was using this quotation. That was her favorite quotation. So even when we were asking her to go up the stage and test the mic, she kept on repeating that quotation. So when the question was posted during the contest, she blurted out that quotation right away. And you cannot get it back. And she was going through a maze trying to fit the quotation that she blurted out with the question that was asked. So it's really, really important about that 100% and that keeping your mind blank before the contest. Other questions, Philip?
Okay, we have one from Toastmaster Lolly Uy. Do we have to add a personal story in a table topic contest?
It would depend on the quotation. It would depend on the question. Because it might be something that you could answer like 1, 2, 3 in formation. So you wouldn't need a story. But if it can help, then you add a personal story. It would really depend on the question that was asked.
Okay. And yeah, the following question is also the same in context. So we'll just move on to the next one. Is it more effective to always start with a challenge question, a hook?
If you want, as I've said, there are so many ways of starting. A challenge question could be one, a story, a quotation. So it would really depend on what was asked. It would depend. There is no hard and fast rule. Gina.
I remember one contest in which the winner, Leslie Cordero of Taipan Toastmasters Club, said something and actually walked off stage before coming back to answer the question. I remember she did that.
She did that on purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, the reason why she did that was because the topic was your speech is something about an open a book, like life is like a book. It's useless unless you open it. And then she walked out at the start saying, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Didn't really walk out. She walked away for mga 4 steps. Then came back and said, what would have happened if I had left? It would have been like your book unopened because I never took the opportunity to do what I have to do. So, at that point, I remember this very clearly because at that point I was seated beside Christine and her contestants are May Kawayan. Up to that point in the contest was a sure winner. And when she did that, I turned to Christine and said, sorry, Christine.
Oh, the good presentation.
Yeah. So really, it would really depend on the question that was posted, how you attack it.
Okay, that's quite an interesting scenario, by the way, and it's something that our members and participants can probably emulate in one of their practices. Okay,
Yeah,
we have
one time we had one question because we always expect the questions to be so hard and so difficult that when we are presented with a simple question, we are stumped. I remember that during the time of GE Europa, the question was, the contestants were all ready to answer, and the question was, what will you do if you win 1 million pesos? And they had quotations ready, they were ready to jump into action, and then the question was, what will you do if you win 1 million pesos? So sometimes, if we focus so much on expecting something, and it doesn't happen, we are thrown off the wagon. So, open mind.
Thank you for that again to DTM Elisabeth. And we have, this is a very unique question because for those of us who are familiar with the table topics, we're always practicing these formats. And this question asks, is there a particular format which has more edge over other formats in answering table topics?
For us Filipinos, we're always attracted to stories. We always put some premium on stories, and especially if it's a story that will pull the heartstrings or a story that creates a challenge, then you have an extra edge. But don't use a story just because you want to put a story into the speech. It might not match. So you have to choose also the stories that you're going to put in. So that's why I always rely on my own personal stories, because then I'm very familiar with it. If we try to relate something else, and share a story, sometimes we don't get the feel, the authenticity for it. So try to use, if you're going to use a story, use something that happened to you. Use your own story.
Well, those are really good points. And we have another question from Toastmaster Luisa. She asks, how do we balance on making a table topics response like a mini speech with opening body and ending with being nervous?
How do we balance on making a table topics response like a mini speech with opening, body, and ending with being nervous? We will be nervous all the way, no matter how we respond to a question. We were asked, remember, I think in July, we're in Division M, or had this session, and we were asked whether we had a complete speech already when we started opening our mouth to respond. No, because we move from stage to stage. That's why the first part is very important. So if you go with your gut feel, if you go with something you're very familiar with, the less nervous you become because you know you can talk about the topic. You will have an opinion about the topic. So when you go from introduction, transitioning to your body, and then to the conclusion, you know the topic. You stick with something that you know, something that will touch you, not just at the head level, but something that will really touch the heart. So the nerves will be there. It is how we make use of it to bring up the energy, that adrenaline. Don't let the nerves overcome us. That's the first rule in speaking. There are certain stages. You start speaking, you feel the nerves, and then once you know that the nerves are coming, you have to learn how to overcome the nerves. Because when you overcome the nerves, then you start enjoying yourself. Remember, it's only 1 to 2 minutes. It should not reach that stage wherein you will be overcome by nervousness. So introduction, something that you're very familiar with, so that lessens the fear, that lessens the nerves, and then develop your talk.
All right. Very insightful. And now this is a very good question because one from Toastmaster Joy, and Toastmaster asked, what is your take or opinion on canned speeches on table topics?
I don't like doing that because what you have prepared might not fit the question that is given. If you notice some who use canned responses, they don't actually hit the nail right on the head because you do not know what you will be faced with, what quotation would be given, what question would be asked. So if you have something prepared, it's canned, it's not going to fit, it's not going to match. So I don't recommend a canned response. Maybe you might prepare 1 or 2 scenarios for something if you are not able to answer the question. Maybe you have at the back of your mind what you're going to say if you are faced with a quotation that you have no idea at all. So how will you go about it? So maybe something prepared for that, but not canned because it's not going to fit. Just a scenario.
And another question from Toastmaster Julius. What are your thoughts on ending your table topic speech with a bang through a call to action?
There are so many ways. One of the more effective ways, Julius, would be call to action. Would be a message. Some would rely on the old reliable quotation. Some would summarize. If they go to path of, let's say, information, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then maybe they do a summary to reiterate what they have shared. But oftentimes, an inspirational message, a motivational message would be quite effective. Something that you leave with them. It's like if you wear perfume, you leave that scent when you leave the room. So what message do you leave at the end that will stick to their mind? Oftentimes, they might forget what you shared, but they will remember your conclusion. So make it effective.
Nice. Yes, I think that's a very nice suggestion. And we are just having a quick check of the time, and we are almost at the top of the hour. And we'll just allow 2 to 3 more questions before we move on to the next part. And we have here from Toastmaster Jennifer, what is the best transition strategy from introduction to the body, from body to the conclusion of your speech?
Could be just a line. Let's say if you disagreed with a quotation, and then that would be your introduction. Say, I disagree with this because I remember something that happened to me. So that would be a transition already, going to your story. A start. Then end the story, then going towards your conclusion. A transition from body to conclusion could be, you start with a summary of what you have just shared before going to a call to action, to a message, to a motivational line, to a quote, or going back to your introduction. So a summation could be used as a transition from the body to the conclusion.
Okay. Right, so we have 1 or 2 more questions. So one is from Toastmaster Joanne, and she asks, the criteria for speech contests are not explicitly taught or discussed during regular meetings. There seems to be a gap. How can this be fixed, if at all?
I would suggest that you look at the criteria when you are going to compete. Because in a meeting, we're not just training people and members to compete. We're training members to react to, let's say, any situation, to an elevator speech, to a question that is posted by our boss when we have to report and we have open forum, and how do we react to this? So it does not necessarily follow that all our answers to this practical day-to-day situation will need a speech contest criteria. So you study the speech contest criteria when you are now seriously considering going to join a speech contest. But in the club setting, just practice, because the use of table topics, the learnings that we gain in table topics during meetings is not for speech contest alone. It's for daily practical use in our daily lives.
Yes, and I would definitely agree, because every day is, as long as you have everything planned, there's always this impromptu moments. So the table topics is just one of those means for us to practice being impromptu. All right, and last question before I conclude the Q&A. This one is very more apt to the contest. In the physical stage, we can always use memorized lines, but online, there will always be prompts and idiot board. How can we rubrics that?
That is where our Toastmasters core value would come in, integrity, that comes in at the start. Because you can always have a group of people in the room, and nobody will know the better. They will not know about it. But if you win because of those prompts, I would consider it a hollow victory. I would consider it a hollow victory because you are compromising your own victory. I remember a friend who was competing in the evaluation contest, and she was asking me, Elisa, do you know who the test speaker is? I knew that I knew the test speaker. I knew who the test speaker was. She said, I just want to know who the test speaker is so I will know how to approach the evaluation. I said, no, I'm not going to tell you who the test speaker is. So she went on to compete. I did not say who the test speaker was. She won the evaluation speech contest. After that, she came back and told me, Elisa, thank you for not telling me because it feels that my victory is worth it because I worked for it. We are not fooling anybody. We are fooling ourselves if we go to that.
And again, thank you, DTM Elisa, for sharing your knowledge on the topic. And I believe everyone will definitely benefit from the session. And
Yes. So please turn on your video and let's have our photo op.
Joy, can you take it on?
Yes. All right, I have 4 pages on my end, so give your best smile. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. Okay, next page. Right, 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, we're going to move on the 3rd page. All right, 1, 2, 3, smile.